Hi there, I'm Ali Hollands from CPHT. That's Clifton Practice Hypnotherapy Training. I'm a senior lecturer of them. It's known as the gold standard of solution-focused hypnotherapy training in the UK. And today I'm talking to solution-focused hypnotherapist Richard Jones of Inspire to Change in Canterbury. I'm not going to do too much more introductions here because I love my guests to talk about their kind of passions and specialisms are. So I always think a personal introduction which shows off what they're interested in is more important. So Rich, over to you.
Hi, I'm Richard Jones. I'm from Inspire to Change at Canterbury. I guess my main specialisms are stress and anxiety in one form or another, which tends to go off in every single direction. I also work with a lot of mental health, probably not so much depression, but I'd say my key is around stress, anxiety of one form or another, wherever that takes the client, to be fair. Pain is something I do feel quite passionate about and I do work with considerably. So I guess those three things, stress, anxiety and pain, are my main passions, if you like, and my current workload pretty much is about 80–90% of those.
Yeah, I think we'll probably touch on how you kind of, why there's that pain specialism as well. I think because you don't know this yet, Richard's got a very interesting story. What made you decide to train originally? Because I know you've trained twice, so like me, we've both trained twice, haven't we? So what made you kind of first go into it?
My main thing for going into hypnotherapy was through a little bit of personal experience, really. I had a 10-year break, a long recovery period, which came with physical and mental challenges, to be fair. So a lot of clients that are in front of me, these are first-hand experiences that I found the long way around putting myself back together.
Okay.
And over that period of recovery, I wanted answers. So how was I able to do this using people or working with people? Went through a lot of talking therapies. But my journey finished after sort of studying, learning more about the mind. I came across hypnotherapy. So firsthand, it was a model that I've actually been on the receiving end for quite a lengthy period of time. And I found it actually made the difference. It got my mindset, it got my headspace in a better place. So once I was there, I was able to then move forward each time because my headspace, my mindset, the adjustment, that positivity that I wasn't getting through other kind of talking therapies, which led my passion on to going into it myself, seeing how it worked for me, seeing clients, seeing colleagues, seeing improvements. It's kind of all my careers, communication, training, competence, development, that kind of thing. They're all very, very relevant developmental issues, if you like. But for me, it came more about a passion about making that big difference.
Yeah. So you kind of just casually slipped in there. Oh, yes, a 10-year recovery. Are you okay to kind of just give us a quick, like the overview of what required a 10-year recovery?
Okay. Whistle stop tour, very, very, and I'll try not to be too flippant because it's how it comes across now, to be fair. 2006, was unfortunate enough to go off a 50-foot cliff. Game changer. 4 weeks later, I came round, woke up. One, shouldn't be alive, shouldn't be walking. So this in itself had a lot of physical challenges because it meant undergoing a good 5 years of surgery, not knowing quite what was going to happen. But the biggest thing for me was the mental journey. The physical side, I was just dipping in and out of surgery. Surgeons were doing their thing, and that kind of got taken in stride. But my head, my mental state, those kind of dark places, if you like, those places where negativity gets fed on a daily basis by being told constantly by surgeons what you can't do, what you won't be able to do.
Yeah.
At no point did anyone say, you can do this, you may do that. It was always doom and gloom. Every appointment, I know how it works and things like that, but on the receiving end, you're constantly told on a daily basis what you can't do. And to me, this just didn't sit right. you know, for me, it just pushed me further and further back mentally, because my understanding now as well, it just kept me in that place. It almost fed the fact that you aren't going to get better.
Yeah.
You won't get there.
Sure. How many surgeries did you have in the end?
It was in the early 20s, I think.
Wow. And every time with the surgeries, there was this kind of negativity that went along with it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a real challenge. So, yeah, how hypnotherapy. So, what do you think specifically? You said it was kind of like it was the key that changed it. So, what do you think it was about the hypnotherapy, particularly, that kind of made that last little bit of difference?
The last little difference, it started to explore what I can do. So the focus came away from the negative, and sometimes, you know, the positives were so small to the outside world, but to me, it was still forward.
Yeah.
It was that glimmer of hope. And I think the biggest realization of me and my mindset was saying, okay, this is now temporary. I accept this is not forever. I believe this is not forever.
Wow.
And then it just made it easier to start working through one issue at a time, if you like. I didn't kind of, suddenly the bigger picture disappeared, and I found myself living in the moment, not looking too far ahead. My expectations were managed to a manageable level for me, seeing tomorrow, visualizing tomorrow, and not worrying about the longer term.
Wow.
That was probably the biggest distinct moment when it was okay, right? This will change.
Yeah.
But the mindset for me, the whole belief in my core being that this will change was almost that light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
It's like almost, what do they know? Every type of surgery and every event, something was improving. So to suddenly go, okay, you can say all the negatives you want. The only thing I'm going to hold on to is the benefit and the difference that was better today than it was yesterday.
Wow.
And that almost became my mantra.
Okay, sounds amazing. Very powerful too. So when you decided to train, what happened then?
This is where I will say, when you learn to train, it's almost the blind leading the blind. Because your first thing is you search, you Google, and suddenly the world comes up.
Okay.
Of different styles, different courses, and everyone says they're the best. Everyone kind of sells you something.
Yeah.
So my first attempt or training was, the word I focused on was client-centered, was before anything else, because I didn't know enough to question as deeply as I now would. So I kind of looked for something that was relatively close to where I could get to. Client-centered was the biggest thing, because I like the idea of being, I consider myself client-centered. So looking beyond that, I didn't look as deeply as I would like to. There was probably about 5 courses I shortlisted down to 1. It was a challenge in itself. And even then, when you push go and start paying for it, and you have that first weekend, you still don't quite know what you've got, from my first experience.
Sure. And so you went through that, you qualified, because when we met you were in practice, we were just around the corner from each other, weren't we? So you were in practice. How was that setting up in practice, following on from the, what we refer to as classical hypnotherapy style, isn't it? So what was being in practice like, and going into practice?
Being very honest and open, going into practice, from the minute you've got your piece of paper and you think, okay, I've got premises, you open that door, you close that door, and the mass realization, panic as, okay, I've got this, I've got my couch, I've got my tools, where do I get a client from?
Mm.
So all of those things, suddenly realizing how many heads you had to have. You know, yes, I was a therapist, but one, I didn't really understand marketing, didn't really understand business. A lot of it I come from previous experience, but it was still daunting, that initial, right, I'm here now.
Sure. So
And you've got this.
yeah. So what did you do to kind of get through that? Because you've been successful the whole time I've known you.
I looked for, and I would sort of say to this to anybody initially setting up, rather than work from home, something like that, if you can find an environment where you've got multiple other therapists of different disciplines, where you can complement them, straight away it takes up a certain amount of that aspect, because you get a bit of cross referral straight away. So looking for something where you can get clients reasonably quickly and a steady flow, just to get your teeth into it, would definitely be my recommendation for something like that. Working alone would be very, very difficult, but that kind of process, finding the right place, finding the right environment, made that journey a lot easier than it would have otherwise been.
Yeah. And so what do you think the kind of other benefits of working in, you know, maybe a multidisciplinary kind of therapy practice?
It put me outside my comfort zone, because naturally you're kind of having to network with realising you are, by talking to therapists each day. You've got company, because it's quite an isolated industry if you're not careful. So to be around people, be around activity, it just settles things down.
Yeah.
Allows you to step back a little bit and take that breath, that pause, to say, okay, right, this is going okay. I'm talking on a daily basis. I've got somewhere to work. I've got sort of the social aspect of it works well. And also other therapists are interested. It's nice to see what they do, what benefits they do, and any cross issues we can deal with. So likewise, straight away, every therapist in the room, they were booked in.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same. Like,
everyone had their session. You know, everyone got, that's it, free, bomb. And it was just so that you're hearing yourself straight away.
Yeah.
All used to your voice, because in practice is one thing, in classrooms one thing, but when you actually deliver your voice for real to a stranger in a business environment, to get over that as quickly as you can settles things down. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why did you decide to retrain? It sounds like you were going pretty well. What made you decide to retrain with CPHT in Kent?
Right, I think for me, my integrity is probably the biggest bit that's not up for debate. So seeing clients with a range of issues was getting results, using a range of techniques, but I started seeing the odd client slip back.
Okay.
So not a lot, there was still a great deal of success there, but one or two that I thought they'd really 100% nailed it and left in an amazing place, I started questioning what else was there. Because when I saw clients, every client I'd have to arrange a different process, a different techniques. There was a lot of preparation time. And there's, I think trial and error is the wrong word.
Yeah, and how was that for you? That kind of that preparation, that kind of extra thinking, that kind of having to almost make up a new kind of therapy for each client. How was that?
It was exhausting, because I was finding myself writing language patterns. Classical. I was writing scripts, bespoke scripts for clients, and that was time consuming. So I guess every hour session time I would find myself, I could be up to 45 minutes a client on top of their session time.
Wow.
So I was working like the clappers. And one of the things I started noticing, that because I was talking about the problem every single session,
Yeah.
I found myself incredibly fatigued, taking an awful lot of it on, especially when you hear abuse. I dealt with a lot of emotional, physical and sexual abuse, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're taking so much on, you can be absolutely punch drunk yourself, drained just by what you're listening to.
Sure.
But also, what I did notice with the clients as well is that, you know, tissues were a massive part in the sessions. It was just, not all the time, it depended on the issue, but there were some very unpleasant sessions for both me and client that you couldn't get away from. If you sat with someone distraught in peace in front of you, just with tears and floods, and it's okay, right, you're putting a lot of trust in me, I'll respect that, but to keep talking about it, I got to the point where only one or two clients were like this, that I noticed it was almost feeding the problem. Yes, the trance was lovely and the technique was lovely, but they were in that space and you could see them reliving a moment, and it was brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what's it like? What was training like, going from classical to solution focused, which, you know, that they couldn't be kind of any more different, really, could they?
They couldn't be any more different. For me, I like structure, I like process, I like discipline. And they're probably my key strengths from business in former lives as well. So I found I wanted a model not only that worked, but suited me.
Yeah.
And working, the more you start to understand how the mind works and understanding when you're working with a client, how you're working with a client, I started to realize how much that previous sessions were spent time just in their primitive brain for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And that, having that discipline and that, for the client as much as me, that discipline to be, okay, right, we're going from here to here, but the why was the biggest light bulb for me, to explain exactly what's going on so a client can actually give that, I get this, that's me, that explains what's going on, I understand that.
And what
to get client understand.
Yeah. And what was the benefit for your clients then when that happened?
Once they understand exactly why I'm working how I am, but more importantly, what they're going to do, their part in it, and how they can measure their own improvement, sessions became, I hate to say this, it doesn't matter an issue, but the sessions became a joy.
I was waiting for which word it was going to be, because mine is always, you know, we're going to have fun here, right? And people are like, okay. So yeah, fantastic. Wow. So what's it like being in practice now?
In practice now, quick overview, my client preparation time is literally, I walk from the car, I walk to the office, I open my bag, I get the client file out, the door goes, the client's there.
Wow. So that's
the
client saved straight away.
So massive saving on time and effort, but with the clients as well, because there's a clear structure, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
My clients are already doing the work between session, and every client, bar the odd rare one now, says, I know the questions coming up, I've got my notes, what's been, so they're almost driven by the process they are unaware of how hard they work between sessions by keeping it going. So
Yeah.
it's not an isolated event.
And what do you think the benefit is there for their, you know, for how long they're with you, or kind of the longevity, the robustness of the treatment? What do you think makes the difference?
What makes the difference now is the clients that I work with now have long-lasting skills that they acquire, they take on, they perfect, and they get to the point that when they're done, the client has the ability, the knowledge, and the understanding to work through most things in life. I still have the odd client that may like a little maintenance session just to get back on track, but that's not slipping back. It's just they've got another aspect of their life they want to work. Okay, right. So it becomes almost developmental past the issue.
Oh, okay, wow.
That's almost like a philosophy, a way of life for them.
Yeah. Wow. It's a really interesting way. I've never heard anyone put it like that. That's really cool. So, and what's to the future? What's the plan? Is there anything, what's kind of coming up? How do you see you developing this?
The plan now is to certainly get the practice fully established, getting my caseload up past 10, 15s, just working out how many days I'm going to work. So I'm just settling down with that now. But caseload wise, it's now looking, this is very viable. And I noticed when I first trained, although I got success, it felt a little bit of a hobby, classical.
Okay. And
I now consider myself a professional.
Right. Wow, so big change then.
Yeah, huge change in my mindset through just working with clients. Because as much we take it all on board ourselves as well.
Yeah. So, and then last question, same one I always ask everyone, is if you had to go back, what would you tell yourself when you were looking first off for hypnotherapy training? What would you need to know to make it so that you could go?
I would have told my young. I think what I'd tell myself is I would have definitely researched more different types of techniques, got a greater understanding of how techniques work, the type of differences that are out there. And I think I'd have been a bit clearer on what I wanted to achieve. Definitely looking at what I would like to achieve and find a model that works for me.
Okay. Fantastic. Anything else?
I think one of the key things is that on my journey looking for this is that I started to look at some of the limitations that classical may have had. To give an example, whereas solution is perfect for most models, there's very few clients now with any given issue that I wouldn't welcome in to sit down confidently knowing the process works. And when I say that, from an old hat, I've got a gentleman that's very heavily brain damaged, almost quadriplegic. But solution focused, because we're looking at just the small improvements, the small expectations, and it might just be focused on wiggling a finger. It's small to him, but it still fits the positive mindset beautifully, because you've got a young man that what's been good for him is he got outside the room.
Yeah.
Or you had someone say hello. So the very small things, the positives, keeping him in the intellectual mind is critical, and he's brought onto that straight away. And just again, I could not have worked with that type of client other than solution focused. So solution is just reinforcing to me its versatility, its flexibility, and its
Mm.
effectiveness at kind of across the board.
Wow, amazing. Well, Richard, thank you very much for today. I really appreciate your time. And obviously we'll put links to you, so if people want to have a little stalk of you, see what you're up to, they can come and find you online. We'll make sure that's all there. And yeah, and if you're thinking of training with CPHT in solution focused hypnotherapy and you have any of those burning questions, or you want to ask us the awkward questions that Richard now knows he should have asked, we love them. So ask away. You can either put it in the comments here or wherever you happen to find us, or you can get in touch with us directly. We'll have all of our contact stuff below. So it just remains for me to say, Rich, thank you very much. As ever, I have learnt more every time I talk to you. It's always exciting. And yeah, we'll see you soon.